Hello, this is Old School with WhatTheBuck.net with our Redskins wrap-up. The Bucs eke out a victory versus the Redskins this week on a missed snap. Hunter Smith could not handle the snap from the center, and that caused the point-after attempt that would have sent the game into overtime to go awry. E.J. Biggers was able to level Graham Gano, and Corey Lynch was able to recover the ball in a game that can only be described as sloppy. Now, I have certainly been accused of wearing pewter-colored glasses, and I wish I could make this into a joy fest about the Buccaneers staying in the playoff race, but this game was absolutely ugly. The first half particularly so, where our run defense couldn't seem to stop anyone. We lost two more starters to injury, Gerald McCoy going out with a torn bicep, Quincy Black going out with a broken forearm. And the run defense looked like, and I think Steve White described it best as the Keystone Cops. When we weren't getting gashed because of the blocking by the Redskins, we were knocking our own guys out because we weren't in position. I have no idea why the Redskins did not continue with a heavy dose of the run, which has become a persistent question from Bucs fans across the year, as teams have seemed to do very well against us in the first half. And while in this particular game we ended up sending a bunch of extra defenders to try and stop the run, they still seem to abandon that run very quickly. We got three 3-and-outs, but those three 3-and-outs weren't just runs either. The first one we certainly stopped terrain, but it's amazing how quick offensive coaches seem to go away from a run that had gashed us for, 150 yards in the first half. It was 100 yards in the first 10 minutes by Ryan Terrain. So now on the offensive side of the ball, we said going into this game there were a couple of keys we need to do. We want to continue to establish dominance on the ground. The Redskins defense had injuries at all three levels, had not played particularly well against the Giants and some other teams throughout the year that we looked at on tape. Looked to be susceptible. Now, a lot of people thought they'd be susceptible in the middle, where we had Make Kimoatu playing the nose tackle position. But really, when you looked at the tape, they seem to be a lot more open on the edges. Arapco's a stud on the edge, but if you can crack that guy with a receiver or get a tight end to kick out there, they were giving up a lot of yardage around the end to running backs. And we thought that would line up well for LeGarrette Blount, who averages over 5.2 yards a carry around either end. And it also stops him from dancing, which he seems to do when he tries to run up the middle of the field. We did neither particularly well. LeGarrette had a decent game. I think we got over 100 yards on the ground. We got 103 total on the ground. LeGarrette still averaged over 4 yards a carry at 4.5 yards a carry. But he did have a costly fumble when D'Angelo Hall punched the ball out from behind, triggering a turnover. In general, the offensive game plan once again looked to be overly complicated. I don't understand in that terrain why we weren't running the ball a lot more. We had 26 attempts. We try and target around 20, but I'd like LeGarrette to get 20, and he only got 15 on the day. Now, when you're playing from behind, you got to try and move the ball. I can understand that, but there's no reason that we should have had to do that, even with the makeshift offensive line against this defense, which we gave a chance to get inspired by letting them get off pretty early in the game. Now, there was a lot of frustration from Bucs fans about the 3rd and 1 play calls, quote unquote. And while I've never been a fan of Greg Olson's play calling, I have thought he's improved recently. On those play calls, if you go back and watch the tape, there were multiple short and intermediate routes that were open on those plays. Well, they were run on those plays. They weren't open. Josh chose not to try and force it in there and instead buy some time and go for the long route. That's his call, right? That's his decision to make. And to be honest, I didn't have a problem with what he did in each of those situations. I would like to see us get back to a more basic attack, but that doesn't seem to be in the cards. One of the other keys was to protect the ball. We had the one fumble. Josh managed to not turn the ball over in the air, though he did throw one directly to D'Angelo Hall, who managed to drop it, even though he could have continued to run to the Washington Monument had he actually made the pick. That being said, we once again dropped a couple of picks on our side, and a number of people are asking if our defensive backs and linebackers do receiver drills, and the answer to that is, in training camp, yes. I don't know what they do in regular practice, but I know that they typically do those drills. But if they caught the ball better than they do now, they'd probably be playing on the offensive side of the ball. Though one of our listeners tonight reminded me if running backs and receivers could tackle, they may be playing on the defensive side of the ball, which may be a good point. The other one was we needed to harass McNabb, and in amongst getting gouged in the running game, our pass rush wasn't particularly present with McCoy going out. We weren't able to generate a lot of pressure with our front four, but with the blitzes that we did run, we did get to Donovan McNabb a number of times, causing him pressure to make some errant throws. We did have those opportunities for interceptions, which could have been game changers that we did not convert on once again, which is a shame. Now, when you look at the combination of the injuries and what we're doing on the depth chart, this is going to be a tough road to hoe. It really is for the Buccaneers, even though we're still in the playoff picture. Statistically, you look at the way this thing lined up. Terrain put up 172 yards on us. It doesn't really matter, as Coach Morris would say. Stats are for losers. The only stat that matters is the score, which we ended up on the upside of. And certainly we played better in the second half. The passing game looked great. A bright spot was Regis Ben, who I've been a fan of since training camp. He's starting to really come into his own. Mike Williams, I'm not sure whether his knee injury's hurting him or what's going on, but I certainly am not seeing him pop the way he has in the past. Maybe people are shutting him down because they're certainly taking a look at him and Kellen Winslow and seeming to force Josh to go to other players, whether it be Sammy Stroughter or Aurelius Ben. But those guys are stepping up and making plays. It's good to see Sammy starting to make some plays as well in the passing game and also, blocking downfield for our running back. So all in all, an ugly game, but we give other teams a lot of credit for being able to get wins and get wins ugly. You look at the Falcons and other teams that have a strong record. They find a way to win the game, and we give them credit for that. You have to give the Buccaneers credit for that too. Regardless of what happened with the officiating, which I know has been a hot topic this week, we found a way to win a game that realistically we probably should have lost. Now we've got to go try and find a way to win 2 more games to set up an opportunity on that last game of the year to choose our destiny. And as a Buc fan, I don't think you can ask for a whole lot more than that. So, again, not a great game, but 42% on third downs after the way we started out is not bad, and certainly not bad given the play selections that we've had on third down. Now, another play that was talked about a lot, I know Hardman's getting a lot of crap for knocking the ball out of Josh's hand. Josh took responsibility. Speaking with a coach here locally who's had a couple of state titles, he says that's on Josh as well. Things like that happen. What I don't understand is why we're even pulling a guard down there. I do wish that our Buccaneers would find some way to establish an identity on third and short or in short yardage situations in general. I don't particularly care who the back is, but I don't think we need any sort of esoteric pulling or anything like that. We need to get a hat on a hat and push the ball down the field. And one of the things I've said before, I'm not sure why we don't do this. I don't know why we're even huddling in that situation. If you're third and less than 1.5 yards or 2 yards, line up, have some plays called. You've got a 6'5", 260-pound quarterback who can get that yardage if you want to, or he can check to one of a couple of basic runs. At least then you put the pressure on the defense to get lined up and be afraid of the run. The way we set this up now, there's no pressure whatsoever for them. Everyone in the league knows we're going to go to 3 wides and Kellen Winslow, or 2 wides and double tight with Williams back when we're in third down. We're going to run 2 or 3 of the shallow crosses, and then we're going to send 1 vertical. It's not like it takes a rocket scientist to figure that out, because I'm certainly not one, and I know these coaches know this game a whole lot better than I do. So I'd like to see that change. Hopefully we'll see it this week. But a win is a win. It does move us to 8-5, gives us a chance to get in the playoff hunt, and hopefully we'll be able to do that and get the Lions taken care of as they come to Tampa this coming week. We'll get to see Ndamukong Suh, though our number 1 draft pick will be out with his torn bicep. We'll see what our makeshift offensive line can do against the Lions, and we'll do a preview video for that probably Thursday or Friday. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you think about it.